everyone, and welcome to the Biohacking Congress in Austin. My name is Ella Davar, and I'm a registered dietitian and the founder of the Gut-Brain Method, and it is my honor to interview the founder of the N01 Beauty.
Yeah, an N101.
Yes. If you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Dr. Nathan Bryan. I've been in academic medicine for more than 25 years, and I'm the founder and CEO of Pneuma Nitric Oxide, a nitric oxide skincare company, and Bryan Nutraceuticals, a company that's designed to develop safe and effective nitric oxide-based nutritionals and dietary supplements.
Awesome. I actually read a book about nitric oxide, which happened to be authored by Dr. Nathan Bryan, and I read it around in 2020, around 3 years ago. When was it actually written?
I believe I published that book in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as a dietitian, I've used the nitric oxide explanation to convince my stubborn clients to eat their vegetables, right? And can you tell us more about the reason why and how your company developed and what it's all about?
Well, we knew that nitric oxide was an important molecule. It's what regulates blood pressure and blood flow and oxygen delivery to every cell in the body. Mm-hmm. And we also recognize that diet and exercise aren't always sufficient for generating nitric oxide. Mm-hmm. So, through 20 years of research, we found out what the body needs to make nitric oxide, what goes wrong in people that can't make it, and then how do you fix this underlying problem. So that's really the basis and kind of our guiding principles for everything we do in terms of product development. Mm-hmm. If your body can't make nitric oxide, we do it for you. And then we actually improve the body's own ability to make it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's start with the basics then. For those who don't know, what is nitric oxide and why is it important?
Very good question. It's a signaling molecule. It's a gas that's produced primarily in the lining of the blood vessels. And when it's produced, it causes the blood vessels to relax and dilate. So we're improving blood flow and oxygen delivery to every organ, tissue, and cell in the body. Mm-hmm. It's a neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. It's how our immune system fights off invading pathogens from bacteria to viruses. So when you lose the ability to make nitric oxide, there's a lot of bad things that happen. You get high blood pressure, you develop sexual dysfunction, you become immunocompromised. You're susceptible to bacterial and viral infections. Mm-hmm. And so really, I think what's considered the holy grail in cardiovascular medicine is how do you restore and recapitulate nitric oxide signaling in the human body.
Mm-hmm. And how do you do that?
Well, in order to do that, we had to answer the question of how does the human body make nitric oxide? Mm-hmm. And now we know that there's two ways the body makes nitric oxide. One is through an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase that converts an amino acid, L-arginine, into nitric oxide. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that pathway becomes compromised the older we get. So we make less nitric oxide through that pathway the older we get. In fact, that's what's responsible for a lot of age-related disease. But about 20 years ago, it was recognized that we can use diet, and that's the importance of dietitians in making these recommendations, is now we can restore nitric oxide through diet, but that's dependent upon getting enough nutrients from your vegetables, and what we look at is inorganic nitrate that's found in green leafy vegetables. And then we're dependent upon the oral microbiome to metabolize these anions into nitric oxide. And then when you swallow this, you have to have stomach acid in order to generate nitric oxide. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that go wrong in that process. Number one, we're not getting enough nitrate from our foods because the vegetables, we may or may not have it. Number two is 200 million Americans wake up every morning and use mouthwash, killing the oral microbiome, eliminating this first metabolic step. And then most Americans are on some type of antacid, which shuts down nitric oxide production.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a few things that definitely most people who are listening should stop doing, right? Taking the antacids and mouthwash. Is there any, you also said how, our ability to produce nitric oxide diminishes over, as we age. Is there a way to prevent that? We're biohackers here. We're trying to optimize everything we've got, right? And what are your top recommendations for preventing the age decline of nitric oxide production?
Well, obviously that's why we're here, biohacking how to optimize human performance and biohack our own health and prevent disease. So we understand what leads to NOS uncoupling. We call that endothelial dysfunction. It's lack of physical exercise. It's really eating a poor diet, a lot of sugar, processed carbohydrates, processed foods that leads to NOS uncoupling. And then when we disrupt the oral microbiome, that shuts down nitric oxide production. So now we know in biochemistry how to recouple the NOS enzyme. We know how to prevent the oxidation of BH4.
How do you call it, that enzyme?
It's NOS, nitric oxide synthase.
Okay.
And so when that enzyme becomes uncoupled, that's what leads to a loss of NO production. So we now know how to recouple that by providing this, what we call a redox coupler in our product technology that allows for the recoupling of nitric oxide synthase. So to answer your question, that doesn't have to be the case, right? In fact, we asked that question 20 years ago, is how do we prevent this age-related decline in nitric oxide production? Because the science told us that if we could figure that out, then we could prevent age-related disease. And that's really, again, the basis for any product technology that we develop or bring to market is if your body can't make nitric oxide, we do it for you. But then we actually improve the body's own ability to make it. And it is true biohacking. And now we know that if you can restore the production of nitric oxide, you can combat the onset and progression of every major chronic disease.
Okay. Well, before we get into your products, can we talk about food for a second?
Absolutely.
You said you studied this for 20 years, right? So can you tell me your top foods that you consume on a daily basis to improve your nitric oxide production?
Well, I'm not a big fan of these, all plant-based or all carnivore diets. I think we as humans have to get our nutrients from kind of a balance of food sources. So for me personally, I do intermittent fast every day. I eat my last meal at usually 6 p.m.
Okay.
And then I don't eat again until 11 or 12 the next day.
I would sign off on everything you said so far.
Okay, good. And then, I travel a lot. So when I land off an airplane, I'll go to the gym and get exercise. I sit in an infrared sauna every day. When I'm home, I have a hyperbaric chamber, so I fully oxygenate.
Wow, you're a true biohacker.
Yeah, look, it's hard work not to stay healthy, but I think it's certainly worth the time and effort and the investment because it's much easier to prevent disease than it is to treat it.
Yeah. So back to foods.
Yep.
What are your top foods that are rich in nitric oxide?
Well, if you look at kind of what the nutrients that are necessary to make nitric oxide, so there's several of them. I mean, any protein is broken down into amino acids. So whether it's plant-based proteins or animal proteins, these are broken down into L-arginine and these precursors. In terms of green leafy vegetables, we look for inorganic nitrate, and that's found
inorganic nitrate.
So NO3 minus. And that's part of the nitrification cycle in terms of this whole field of agronomy where plants assimilate nitrogen, they assimilate other vegetable or other nutrients from the soil. So nitrate is what allows for, and that's why you add nitrogen-based fertilizers to the soil, because you basically enhance the growth capability, the nutrient assimilation into those vegetables. The challenge is, and we measured this in 5 cities across the U.S., there's regional differences in the nitrate content in vegetables. So for instance, if you wanted to, and we quantified this, if you wanted to get enough nitrate just from your diet, and you were here in Texas, you could go buy 6 stalks of celery, eat those 6 stalks of celery, and get enough nitrate to normalize your blood pressure. If you lived in New York and you went to a retail grocer and bought that celery, you'd have to eat like 120 stalks. So the growing conditions, the soil conditions, are much different in different geographical regions around the U.S. So there's no way we can actually make dietary recommendations because the nutrient density is much different in different geographical regions. And it's different farming practices. It's different for conventionally grown vegetables versus organically grown vegetables. So it's just a wide variability. So the take home from all this is you almost have to supplement because we can't guarantee we're getting enough nutrients from the foods we eat.
Yeah, I like how you touched on quality of the foods, right? Instead of just simply naming. Becoming qualitarian on the food consumption is what I teach as well. And still, like, just share your own experience with the food intake. What are your favorite nitric oxide foods that you just can't go without like consuming each week?
Well, I have product technology that does it for me, so it's very difficult, especially when I travel so much, to eat high-quality, good nutrient-dense foods. So we almost have to supplement. There's data showing from the 1940s until 2020, there's been almost an 80% depletion in most trace minerals and nutrients in all the foods we eat. So this pressure of feeding a growing population or global population is at the expense of nutrient density.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're trying to accelerate and facilitate plant growth and crop growth, but at the expense of nutrient density. So for me, my typical diet is for lunch, I'll typically eat a light lunch. It always involves a protein.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a meat-eating Texan, so I like my steak and I like beef.
Your brisket.
Brisket, yeah. But I consume poultry and fish products, but I try to keep it a balance. I'll typically always try to eat a salad or some green food during the day, and then some type of vegetable along with the steak. And I think it's important to get this mix and balance of nutrients from different food sources.
Well, let's talk about beets then, because beets is the number one top recommendations when it comes to nitric oxide and athletic performance and stamina, right? What's your opinion?
Well, beets gained a lot of popularity in 2012 during the Olympic Games in London because there were some studies showing that beets contain inorganic nitrate that the body converts into nitric oxide, and it improved athletic performance. I've tested hundreds of different beet products, raw beets as well as finished beet products on the market. And 98% of the beet products out there do absolutely nothing for nitric oxide. So you got to remember, beets are really a peasant vegetable. It's the third most disliked vegetable on the planet.
After what? Cilantro and celery?
I'm not sure what the first two were. They contain high oxalates, so they can cause gout and kidney stones in a lot of people. So what we've done is we've taken kind of the best part of beets and what they can do, not necessarily what they actually do. So we create a fermented beet product where we optimize the nutrient density, but we take out the beet pulp, the beet color, the beet taste, and the oxalates. And we add electrolytes to improve cellular hydration, and we add mitochondrial ATP, which is the energy currency of the cell.
Wow.
So now we've got a beet product that actually generates nitric oxide that we can quantify and detect and verify, that doesn't contain the oxalates, so you don't have to worry about gout or kidney stones, and it doesn't taste like beets. We made it a sweet berry flavor. So that's a phenomenal product called NO Beets, but it really, people have a misconception about beets. There's a lot in the literature, but as I mentioned, when you actually put these products to the test, very few of them actually deliver on nitric oxide.
Wow. So you don't eat beets?
I do not eat beets.
Oh wait, but the NO Beets product is made from beets?
It is made from beets.
Okay.
But it doesn't look or taste like beets, and we actually optimize it. We designed this innovative product to deliver nitric oxide, electrolytes, and mitochondrial ATP. So it's a great energy product. We use it for a pre-workout to improve athletic performance. But really my goal and objective for this product is to replace all the 5-hour energy, the Red Bulls, the Monster energy drinks that billions of people are consuming, and it's actually causing a lot of damage, and it's detrimental to health. So I create product technology that provides a natural source of energy, improves blood flow, and actually improves your health. And I think that's what people should strive for, a natural source of energy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then when it comes to your product, tell us more about the no beets.
So the no beets, it's meant to be a fermented beet product that doesn't look or taste like beets, but delivers on the nitric oxide promise of beets. We also make a lozenge, an orally disintegrating tablet called NO2U, that you put this lozenge in your mouth, and over 5 to 6 minutes it slowly dissolves, but we release the nitric oxide gas. So again, any product that we bring to market, we can quantify and verify that it generates nitric oxide gas. It's vasoactive, it's biologically active, and we see the benefits of it.
Wait, before we switch to other products, I just want to finish the whole beets conversation. What about, have you been able to test the beet juice and the powdered beet product?
Yeah, so we've tested beets that you buy at retail grocers, both organic and conventionally grown beets. We've tested beet juice, we've tested beet powders that we reconstitute in water. And again, 98% of those don't do anything. The only thing they do is turn your urine and poop red and cause a lot of anxiety. But there's no nitric oxide activity whatsoever. In fact, we call these dead beet products. They're dead beets. And in fact, we've used them as placebos in many of our clinical trials.
Really? Okay.
So buyer beware.
Yeah. All right. So tell us more about your product line, which specifically I'm interested in the beauty products.
So once we figured out we could make nitric oxide, the next step was how else can we apply this technology in different market segments. So now my sole mission and objective is to introduce safe and effective nitric oxide products in every major market segment around the world. And we realize the skin is an organ, right? Just like the heart and the brain.
The largest organ.
One of the largest. And so if we don't have adequate blood flow to the skin, that organ fails. And so you get fine lines and wrinkles, you lose hydration, you lose collagen, and you look old. So once we figured out we could make nitric oxide, we developed a nitric oxide topical skin serum. And it's a dual chamber delivery system. You just take one pump from one side, one pump from the other, mix it together, and then apply it to the face and neck. And you can actually see this product working. Your skin will turn a slight pink, which is reflective of the increase in blood flow. And so this is actually a new category in skincare. Most beauty and skincare products are made to mask or hide the wrinkles or fill them in or hide the blemishes. What we do is get to the root cause of those blemishes, of the age spots, of the fine lines and wrinkles. So now we've got 4 published clinical trials. We show an improvement in fine lines and wrinkles are resolved. Age spots and blemishes disappear. It's very effective for acne, although we can't make that claim as a skincare product. But the tone, texture, and clarity of the skin improve within 30 days. It's a remarkable product.
Yeah, it's almost like nourishes us inside out, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, so what was your first product?
So we have
The original.
The original nitric oxide that I came to market with in 2010 was a lozenge called Neo 40. And that's been on the market now for a number of years. Then I created a product called Beat Elite, which is used for a number of athletic programs.
Beat Elite?
Beat Elite.
Yeah.
It's used by a number of different athletic programs. And then I developed a product called Super Beats. That's probably the #1 beat selling product on the market. And then we've since innovated and improved upon those technologies that we've launched with Bryan Nutraceuticals, the NO2U lozenge and then the NO Beat product.
And what are the main ingredients of those original superstars?
Well, with the beets, it's just beets, but it's how we grow the beets and how we process the beets and how we optimize the nutrient density in them.
Okay. So how do you grow them?
Well, we start with a superior seed, and then obviously we monitor the soil conditions on all this. And then once we get the final, what's called a high Brix concentrate, which is almost like a molasses, then we put it through a gentle drying process so that you just preserve the nutrient density. Most beet powders go through high pressure, high heat, and you destroy the nutrient density in these. And that's what most commercial beet powders have undergone.
Right.
So then we ferment them, so we pre-convert a lot of the beet powder into a bioactive nitric oxide. So now when you pour our beets in water, you immediately start to liberate nitric oxide gas.
Okay, so, but where do you grow it? And do you, like, when you say we, do you have control over it? Is it like...
We have a very selective source for our beets because really nobody can do what we've been able to do through this. So this is we have a primary supplier. We grow these beets really all over because we're one of the largest beet buyers and sellers around the world. And then we just control the process of how we do this, and we monitor this, the quality control at every step of the level, every step of the way.
Well, it's exciting and disappointing at the same time because we can't, we just disappointed everyone because I used to think myself, and so many people did, that nitric oxide comes from beets and like the best source of it is eating actual beets.
Not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
The other problem is, if people try to do the right thing and eat a proper diet and get exercise, but if they're using mouthwash, you lose the benefits of exercise and you lose the benefits of the nitric oxide activity of the diet.
Tell us more about, because I know the connection of the brain, of the gut, right, the microbiome, but then you keep reiterating that the mouth microbiome, how important that is. Not a lot of people connect that.
The Human Microbiome Project was a multi-year, multi-decade project, and so a lot of focus was put on the gut microbiome and the importance of that. We started in the mouth, trying to identify what's the ecology of the oral microbiome. And what we realized was that the people who have the best blood pressure have the highest diversity in the oral microbiome. People who have the highest blood pressure have the least diverse oral microbiome. So just like today, we know that we shouldn't take an antibiotic every day for the rest of our life, right? That seems obvious to us
Right.
because of the clinical consequences of it. So the same logic, why would you use an antiseptic mouthwash every day for the rest of your life and completely destroy
Just because
the
you
microbiome?
can, right? And it tastes
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah, but there's
advertised.
clinical consequences to this.
Yeah.
So now we're finding that if you use mouthwash, you see an unsafe elevation in blood pressure. If you use mouthwash, you lose the cardioprotective benefits of exercise because you're completely destroying these bacteria that are there designed to do a specific job for the human host. And one of those main functions is generate nitric oxide.
Wow. What's your alternative? What's the solution? What do you recommend?
Don't use mouthwash. I mean, I think it's still important to brush your teeth and brush your tongue with a fluoride-free toothpaste. Fluoride is an antiseptic. It kills your thyroid function, and it's a neurotoxin. So if you're using a fluoride-based toothpaste, you have to stop. So as long as you have maintained good oral hygiene and you maintain the ecology, a normal microbiome, and the diversity of it, then there's no need for a mouth rinse. You know, the good guys keep the bad guys at bay, right? When you destroy the good guys, then the bad guys start to repopulate and take over, and that's when you get into periodontal disease, gingivitis, halitosis, and all that. But if you just maintain the normal microbiome, there's no need for mouth rinses.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and about your beauty products, do you use them?
I do. You know, I'm certainly a product of my products. I've never used beauty products before, but when I started, I saw the transformation of people and by using these products and the controlled clinical trials we did on people. And, you know, you'd be foolish to have this technology and know the results and not use it. So yeah, I use it every day. Usually at night after my shower, before I go to bed, I'll apply the skin serum. I'm turned 49
So
last
it's
month.
unisex, right? It's
unisex,
recommended,
yeah.
even though it's called beauty
Yeah.
products, right? So.
But you know, now we're finding there's a lot of men who are interested in skincare products and beauty care products. And I think if you look at the market demographics, this is the first generation where the parents and the grandparents are willing to spend their kids' inheritance on making their lives better and living longer. So, and again, this is the biohacking community, right? How do we improve and optimize human health and performance? And how do we continue to chronologically age, but not biologically age? And that's the beauty of the biohacking community and really the effects of nitric oxide on this. I think nitric oxide should be foundational for anybody who's biohacking. And you can use this as a stack. So for instance, I use my nitric oxide before an infrared sauna, use it before you go to the gym, apply the serum before you're applying makeup, and just open up that vascular structure, hit those cells with a lot of oxygen, improve cellular turnover, mobilize stem cells, everything works better.
You touched on your own personal protocol for those who are watching and interested in purchasing the product. What's the protocol? Like, do you use it every day? Do you recommend how often and what qualities for it?
The nutritional products I certainly use every day, and those can be found at no2u.com. We have a lozenge and we have the NO Beats, the powder. And then for skincare, yeah, you can use it once or twice a day. So in our clinical trials, we use the serum once in the morning, once in the evening. And after 30 days, you see transformative results. So our skincare line of products is n101.com.
Fascinating. I can't wait to try it.
Where your skin looks great already.
Thanks.
Only get better.
I walk my talk. I do eat a lot of beets, and I do recommend them. But thank you for such an insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. The next Biohacking Congress is in Miami in October. Check us out. Let us know if you have any questions and connect with us. Stay tuned for more details. Thank you.
Thank you.